So welcome back to the channel, people. I recently worked on a Christmas video campaign, which is the second one I've done in my filmmaking career, and they're always a fun challenge. And in this video, I'm going to be breaking down exactly how we shot it, how we planned it out, and I'm going to do a breakdown of the cinematography because we had to work really quickly on this. We shot all of it in one day, and we only actually used one light and one 5-in-1 reflector to light the whole thing. And we also used some tools for color grading, which I don't think many people are familiar with, but it's been an absolute game changer for me and the team working here, the crew that we have working on this piece and other pieces. It's really helped us take it up a level. So stick around to the end of the video and I'll talk to you a little bit about that tool as well. But just to set the scene, this particular Christmas video was for Birmingham City Football Club. The campaign was all around helping kids in care. So the football club started a campaign called the Blue Noses, where they asked fans to donate £3, and for every £3 that they donated, they would be buying kids that were in care that wouldn't have a present for Christmas presents. So that was the premise. However, we had some limitations, and I'll talk to you a little bit about that as we go through how we actually produced this video. But as a starting point, let's watch the video and then we'll break it down from the planning, the cinematography, and some of the color grading as well. Let's do it.
How's it going, Kai? You ready, yeah?
Yeah.
So, you excited?
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be good. It's gonna be fun.
That all clubs really. First Blues game.
Yeah.
Quite something, ain't it? Wear it with pride, son. You're part of the Birmingham City family now.
Yeah.
Game.
What a great.
How good was that goal?
Oh, it was best.
Hello, you two. How did you get on then? Hang up your jacket and scarf.
He was buzzing, Jane. He was buzzing.
Did you get on okay?
The game was brilliant, but a smile on his face. I mean, it made everything really worth it, no?
Thanks for that, Steve. Great day.
We had a lot of limitations. We filmed it all in one day. We used one light to film the whole thing, and we had to turn it around in 48 hours as well. And the way we did that was by operating a really agile, lean crew. We did 4 different locations in one day. And also we had to work a lot with natural light and minimize the amount of lighting that we used. So we only ended up using one lighting fixture in this whole video and a 5-in-1 reflector to block out light. But first of all, let's break it down a little bit. So let's jump into pre-production. So right here is Milano. I imagine a lot of filmmakers out there are familiar with this now. It's a tool that's really taken this industry by storm. We use it for a lot of our creative projects, especially when it comes to storyboarding, mood boarding, etc. This is how we organize it. We always have some styling information. We have the timeline and what days are allocated into that timeline. Brief summary, if there's scripting over here. But for the purposes of this, I won't go into talent because there's personal information on there. But for this one, we used a website called Star Now, which is a great place to go and find up and coming talent. We had a relatively limited budget on this, so we couldn't go crazy with loads of Hollywood star actors, and we also couldn't shoot it over numerous days and invest a mountain on gear. So that's why we had to stay lean, had to stay agile. We essentially had 4 different sections of the video. So we had a care home, which was the start and the end of the video. We had the bus, which was only for a couple of quick shots, but showed that progression from the care home to the stadium. Then we had the football stadium, which is called St. Andrews. And then this last part is the same care home here. But we essentially broke this down into different shots as a high level shot list here. Most of these we got. For each of the different scenarios, we got references to help us to show how we wanted this to progress. You can see here in the shot references, there's the wide open of the house, there's people moving, talking, progressing. So that served as our inspiration for the shot references for that first section. When we got on the bus, we had, this wide shot here, these ones, a bit of interaction. So we used this shot. We captured this shot, but we didn't use it. And that's important, sometimes you can have the shot list, you can piece it all together, but you get to the edit and you go, okay, well, we've got 60 shots, but we only really have time to properly use 50 of the shots. So we work with the editor in-house, amazing editor, a guy called Elroy, and he goes, look, I don't think we need that, let's forego it, we don't need it. On the bus here, there was a 2 abreast. We got this shot, we didn't end up using it. We just ended up using something similar to this to show the progression of the character going towards the stadium. Next up, we had the actual stadium itself. The big challenge that we had here was we were trying to emulate a game day. And if you imagine going to a stadium on a game day, it's absolutely packed, chocker, ram full of people. So what we had to do was be quite clever and think about how exactly we shot this to be careful that we didn't show that it was empty in the stadium, in the run-up to the stadium. There was a few ways that we did that. So you'll have probably observed, when we entered into the stadium, there's those turnstile shots. All the shots are shot quite low and angled upwards. So you can see the context of what's around, but you can't actually see whether it's busy or whether it's not busy. In doing that as well, we had a handful of extras. We probably had about 8-9 extras, and we very carefully moved them around from side to side in order to achieve what we did here. We had them entering through the turnstiles. We then had this as a shot reference for walking out to the stadium. I think we achieved something quite similar to this. This look of awe from the kid. And then, these shots showing these interactions, these were all used as references, as interactions in the crowd. So you can see obviously with this one, it's pretty packed out. It had a lot of people, same for this one, but we had that limitation. So we had to be really careful. We had to crop quite tight in the way that we shot this piece. But overall, I'm really happy with how it looks. I think, it sells it enough. And it doesn't look obvious at any points here that we were basically in an empty stadium. Finally, we had the shot references in the building. So, this shot was achieved here. This open doorway looking through lighting where we're coming from. This was achieved. I was really happy with that shot actually. I thought that came across really well. Your standard over the shoulders back and forth, we achieved these really well. And then this, mid-level shot of the kid putting the scarf onto his hanger, that was achieved there. And then the final shot, which was obviously the big payoff shot, that was pretty hard to find a reference for, but we knew as a team, we discussed it internally, what that was going to look like. Now, I'm going to go into breaking down the actual video itself. So before I jump into breaking down the cinematography and the lighting setups, let's just touch a little bit on gear. In order for us to shoot this, the camera that we used was the Sony FX6. So I've shot a lot of stuff on the Sony FX6. You can get a real great quality image out of it. And it's a hard hitting camera. I think, the Creator film that came out recently, everybody raved about that being shot on an FX3. Inside the cameras of the FX3 and the FX6 is basically exactly the same, but the FX6 is a bit chunkier. It's got a few more internal features like the ND, which helps you on the fly. And it was great. It was like a great compact, adaptable camera for this entire shoot. And I've used it on numerous projects and it's never let me down really. I've been really impressed with the camera. But an important addition, which I think adds an extra little edge to this video, is we shot it entirely on the Helios 44-2, which if you followed this channel, you'll know that I'm a big fan of vintage lenses. I had a Canon FD 50mm and I've used that to shoot a short film before. And I've always heard and have been told that the Helios is a pretty pucker, really nice, really character-filled lens, which is quite affordable and a vintage lens. And I thought, you know what? Yeah, for this one, let's get something to make it a bit more unique and give it that edge, that kind of differentiation. So you can see in the bokeh, it's kind of got that swirly look, that swirly feel. Also in some of the shots where the flares come in, it's really nice. Like the flares just come through in a organic way and also in like a really just beautiful way. And the actual image itself, it softens the whole thing up, makes it look, dare I say, cinematic, which is a term that's super overused, but I think the pairing of that camera with the modern digital sensor with a vintage lens like that, and then just to add an extra little bit of sauce on top, we put a quarter Pro-Mist filter on the end of the lens, and we shot the whole thing handheld because the aim of the day was to be agile. You know, we needed to move between different sets quickly, we needed to get the shots really quickly, and I was super chuffed with the visuals and how they came out. From a gear perspective, the only other thing that we used was a 5-in-1 reflector, like one of the big ones, so we could cut out a lot of light on the fly if we needed to, and just fold it back down real quick. And then we used a Aperture 300D, so not a massive crazy lighting fixture, a relatively medium-sized lighting fixture. I love that light. I've got it right here on the left of me. We've used it on loads of shoots, and it's super reliable, got plenty of power in it. And you know, we were filming this in the winter months, so we weren't battling with crazy sunlight either. But let's jump into it. So this was the reference of the outside of the house, you know, get the audience involved in the story. And you know, we had the sun just kicking in from the left here. There's no additional light into this. Cut into a tracking shot here, show a bit of progression. This all naturally lit, a little bit soft on the focus, but not the end of the world. All these shots progress quickly. This one here, all naturally lit. We've got the sunlight coming in over here. You know, you can see a little bit of like softness and flare on the lens. And then we cut into this shot again, just matched up. So that sunlight's coming over here. It's quite harsh on his face. We could have softened it up a little bit with that 5-in-1, but you know, I think it gives a nice sensation of in the morning, same, you know, the light's all been motivated. This shot here, we saw in that pre-production board, something similar. Again, we jumped on a bus, just pulled up at that bus stop. We said, that one looks good. We got across the road, got the wide shot, got on walking onto the bus, jumped on. We got on for 2 stops. We shot all of the stuff in the bus in about 4 minutes. Got on, said, look out the window. We've got some natural light coming in here, nice Rembrandt light in, really leaning into those shadows, making it quite nice and moody. And then this here, this in no way connected to what was actually being seen on the bus. We went retrospectively the day after. One of the lads here, our senior cinematographer, just went, he jumped on the bus, got a quick shot. We brought that in a little bit later. Moving on, this scene here, turnstiles, some of my favorite shots of the whole piece here. So this, you know, a little bit blurry just to show there's people going through, they're going into the stadium. This was the extras moving through, keeping it tight. This shot, look at that. This like beautiful soft flaring that comes over it, tracking these guys coming through, getting the reverse shot on the other side of them coming through, going into the stadium. And then here we have this wide, you know, walking through the tunnels of the stadium. Again, we've got the shot reference, we've got some nice lead-in lines focusing the audience's attention, but all natural light. You know, we were really blessed. We had a cloudy day, so this cloud up here wasn't too intense. It wasn't bright sunlight. Beautiful. So all of this to this point has all been naturally lit, not a single light being used. Again, here, we're just using the natural light from the sun over here, no diffusion, just operating the camera correctly, getting the correct exposure. Got a nice cloudy, overcast day where we just got a nice bit of soft sunlight on his face. We shot this at about 10:30 in the morning, so it wasn't peak midday sun. That was intentional. You know, we wanted to get all of these exterior shots done in that block in the morning and then shoot the ones in the evening when we were at the house where we had a bit more control over the light there. Little pickup shot, sitting down, he meets this character over here. You know, the sound design does a lot of the work here to sell that they're in a stadium. These reactions here. But this shot here, I mean, look, that looks absolutely ace. What have we got here? We've just got natural light coming from this direction here. At the top, above them, is a canopy. So there was shadows coming in behind them. So when he turns his face, at this bit here, we've got a real nice, like, natural shadow. And the sunlight there. Again, we've got the shadow on his side of the face here. And then sunlight coming in here. All naturally lit. Just careful placement of the characters when we got into the stadium. Nothing crazy going on, just making sure that we position them correctly up in the seats and shot at the correct time of day. Good bit of grading being done on this just to bring those mid-tones and shadows out as well. This shot, I think on set, I basically said to the chap I was shooting it with, Joe, I was like, look man, when we call for this goal to happen, I'm just gonna go a little bit crazy with the camera, just move around a lot, use a lot of handheld movement just to sell that it's a bit chaotic and it's a goal going on. And I think it works great. Can't even tell. Here, okay, again, so what I spoke about earlier in the video, shooting in an upward angle here, so we could sell that the stadium wasn't so full. So you can see that pretty much all the way through. We were either really tight, if you look here, really tight, so when we're side on, and then when we're in these shots here, so we're shooting from an upward angle, so it sells that we are not in a place which is super busy. But this shot here, this is all naturally lit. He's got the sunlight coming in from over here. And then same again for this character here. Now this shot here, this is where we had a little bit of trouble. So at this point, he's looking in this direction, and this direction here is where the sun's coming in. So you can see without what we did here was we put a big 5-in-1 blackout just on top of everybody. So we got this shadow on this side of the face, because before the sunlight, when it was coming in here, because of his head position, he was basically completely flat. He was like super flat with his lighting. So we put in this big 5-in-1 here, big black diffusion, just laid it over the top of all of the people in the scene. So there's basically people with a big black 5-in-1 looking like a tent over their head. And this just gave us a bit more shadow on that side of the face. Moving on to this next shot, we had the reference here, dead simple. We get this in focus, quick shot to show the transition. We also shot a number of other carrying shots that would help carry the story along. One of them might have been like the button on the bus being pressed to show that they were going home. But when we got to the edit, as I said, our editor was like, look, I don't think we need it. We can just show them they're going home, they're back in here. Boom. Okay. So this shot, this is one of my favorites. Really, really in line with what we had planned out in that pre-production. So you can see you got the natural light coming through here. This was shot about 3-4 o'clock in England, where I'm from and where we're based. But this now at 3-4 o'clock, when it that's where we're starting to get that golden hour somewhat in the UK. So this is giving us a nice soft backlight on these subjects here. And as they come through, when we first shot this, all this corridor, it was super dark. It was super dark. You couldn't see anything here, anything here. So we thought, okay, what do we need to do just to bring this up a little bit and make it a little bit more illuminated? So we just got a aperture 300D. We didn't put any diffusion on it at all. We just shot it directly upwards into the ceiling around this sort of space here. So it goes up and then the lighting comes down like this, and it just, you know, bounces around this wall, And it just means, so it just meant when they come into the corridor, they're not completely in pitch black, they're still pretty dark, but you can see a bit more of the space when they enter in. Okay, next, we meet the carer. So originally, this was where the light was set up for when they walked in. Now all we did, it was aiming up there on that previous shot and bouncing down in this direction. That's how we angled it. For this one, we wanted to really mimic the natural light of the house. So we've got a little bit of light coming in here, which is giving her a tiny little bit of rim light in her hair. Not a lot, but it's giving her a bit of separation there. And then we just positioned the fixture that was here before, that aperture that was bouncing up. We moved that and we placed this just out of frame here in a block pointing up and across. So it went up like that and came down across there. And we've just got this real nice soft light on her face, bit of Rembrandt, and it looks really natural, you know, proper nice wraparound as well. So from there, we've got those two having a nice chat.
Then, Hang up your jacket and scarf.
It's really nice and natural, that does. Really nice and natural, you know, it looks like it's coming from an organic place. It doesn't look fake at all. That was the aim of the game. Get the lighting looking nice and organic. Here, again, all we did was move the light on this. So here, the light was facing up and down. Here, that same light is on the opposite side here, and we just directed it in a slightly opposite angle. We shot this back and forth. We didn't have two cameras, so we shot this interaction a few times. We've got the nice bit of light organically hitting on his face there.
It was brilliant space. I mean, rid of
You know, he's got a nice bit of shadow, a bit of fall off there. He's got light coming onto his face here. Looks really organic. We also had a bit of a back and forth on set as to whether we leave this door open. We thought, okay, is it a little bit weird? You come in the door, you leave the door open. But we closed this, and this, without this coming in and just bouncing a little bit of light around the scene, the environment lost a little bit of its light. So we opted to keep this open, use it a little bit as a rim light coming in here, separate him again from the background somewhat, and help just fill a bit of this space. And then we had that one fixture up here, just bouncing up, bouncing down, lighting this side of his face, putting the shadow on a bit of this side of the face. Which, look, shooting light side is, you know, what people say you shouldn't do, but I think in this particular scenario, it made sense, it worked, and I don't think it gave any detriment to the quality of the video. I think it looks great. I think that image looks really great. This shot, dead simple. This was, I told a little lie earlier actually. We had this one shot on a tripod at the end. We just got the subject to put the scarf that he'd got from the character over. We had the lighting fixture here, just matching that nice organic in the house lighting. So it came on, he's still got a bit of shadow coming in on the side of his face here. The light you can see is on his face over here. So nothing crazy. We basically had that one fixture, slightly angled it in different directions and dialed up the intensity according to the subject's, you know, need for more light, or whether that space was needed to be lit further. Dialed up the intensity, dialed up the direction, and bosh, there we have it. And that's it. That's how we did it. So I think you can see as you go through there, it looks really nice. It's shot really nice. It's got a lot of character to it, but, you know, it relies a lot on the story. We used a lot of organic light, and I was super chuffed with how this came out. Really chuffed with how it came out. These shots in particular. And then just a little note then, I mentioned the color grade on it. So a little bonus one for you. I'm not going to go into the nitty gritty of how we graded all of it, because I didn't actually grade it. It was our editor that graded it. But one thing that I did with our editor here is I sat down and we basically had a full day just going through what are the new best and greatest AI tools that exist. And this isn't an advertisement for them, but what we use is a platform called Color Lab. Now, it costs about $20 a month, and what it essentially does is it plugs directly into Prem or DaVinci or Final Cut or whatever your editor is, and you can push your footage into Color Lab. And it uses AI to essentially go through a process with one shot in your video, and from that first shot, it'll correct it back to neutral, so it'll fix any of your white balance or exposure issues. It will then move it up a path and then bring it into a good Rec 709 space if it's in S-Log or any log profile, and then it will put on a look for you. And all of this is done with AI. So if you're not, you know, the best color grader in the world, and you shoot things correctly and you're just banging a lot on the end of a video, and then you have a relatively decent looking video, but there's the odd shot that you're not quite happy with, what this tool does is essentially breaks down each shot and properly, using artificial intelligence, corrects every shot. So when you get the look grade on it and you put it in a sequence, it looks the bollocks. It looks so nice. And it's got so many different varieties of looks that you can put on your video. It's just like an infinite library of looks, basically. And you can also, which is really clever, pull a still from a film that you might like. So you might like Batman, or you might like Interstellar. Whatever the look is of the film that you are going for, or you like the aesthetic of, or you might just see a reference of somebody on YouTube that's made a nice video. If you want your video to look like that, you can pull a frame or a number of frames from that, put it into Color Lab, and it will essentially identify what that color profile is and enable you to apply that look to your video. Now, once it's applied all of these, you can manually go through them yourself and make slight adjustments. If you think that the AI hasn't done it exactly to your taste, you can still operate it as if it were a normal color grading interface. You know, you can move your gain and your lift and input different colors if you think the shots need it. But it does an amazing job to get you most of the way there pretty much in one go. And color grading is one of those things, if you're doing it shot by shot manually, it takes a long time. And we had this graded in probably about, 30 to 40 minutes. So yeah, that concludes this cinematography breakdown for this video. I hope that was useful. I know this is probably going to be quite a long video, probably one of the longest ones that I've ever done. But let me know if you like this sort of content and you found this useful, this more in-depth breakdown. Comment in the comment section below and I'll do more of these types of videos. I've got loads of different portfolio pieces that we've added over the last 12 months that I'd like to break down in this manner. So if you enjoyed this, just let me know. Leave a comment in the comment section below. As always, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed it, drop a little headbutt on the subscribe button as always, and do those other things that YouTube's tell you to do. Give it a little like, a little thumbs up. I wish you all a very Merry Christmas. I hope you enjoyed this breakdown. Peace. See you later.